The night I served poisoned wine to Seoul's most feared crime lord and then saved his life with CPR in the back room of my restaurant, I thought my biggest problem was keeping my job. I was wrong. Because when Yoon Tae-hyung woke up in my arms, the first thing he did wasn't threaten me or demand answers. He asked my name in perfect English, looked into my dark brown eyes like he was seeing sunlight for the first time in years, and whispered thank you with a vulnerability that shattered every assumption I had about monsters. What I didn't know was that my quick thinking had just made me the only witness to an assassination attempt that could topple Korea's most powerful criminal empire. What I definitely didn't know was that falling in love with your employer when you're a black American waitress and he's the untouchable Dragon of Gangnam tends to complicate things in ways that could get you killed by 3 different countries. My name is Zara Johnson, and I came to Seoul 18 months ago carrying nursing credentials I couldn't use, student debt I couldn't pay, and the kind of desperation that makes you take jobs in restaurants where the customers speak in code and pay in cash. Moonlight Garden looked legitimate from the outside, upscale Korean fusion in Gangnam, the kind of place where tech executives and K-pop managers closed deals over premium soju. But after 6 months of working the evening shift, I'd learned to read the signs. The way certain customers got private rooms without reservations. How conversations went silent when I approached tables. The subtle deference everyone showed to the man in booth 7 who never ordered but always got served. Yoon Tae-hyung. I'd been serving him for 4 months before learning his name, and another 2 before understanding what it meant. At 36, he had the kind of controlled elegance that belonged in boardrooms or art galleries, not restaurants where waitresses like me served him tea he never drank while he conducted business in rapid Korean that made grown men sweat. He was beautiful in the way dangerous things often are, sharp cheekbones and intelligent dark eyes that seemed to catalog every detail, every potential threat, every person who might be useful or disposable. His suits cost more than my rent, and he wore violence like expensive cologne, subtle, sophisticated, unmistakable to anyone who knew what to look for. To him, I was invisible. Just another piece of restaurant equipment, foreign help who brought food and cleared plates while more important matters were discussed around me. Until tonight, when everything changed. I was working a double shift because Soo-jin had called in sick again, covering the private dining area where Tae-hyung held court with 6 other men who radiated the same quiet menace. The conversation was more intense than usual, sharper voices, longer silences, the kind of tension that made my nursing instincts scream warnings. Another bottle of the Chateau Margaux, one of them said in English, his eyes never leaving Tae-hyung's face. I recognized him, Lee Junho, who'd been coming to these meetings for weeks but always sat slightly apart from the others. Something in his posture tonight felt different, predatory in a way that made my skin crawl. I fetched the wine, noting the way Junho's hand lingered near the bottle while I poured. The way his smile didn't reach his eyes when he watched Tae-hyung accept the glass. My mother always said I had too much curiosity for my own good. Growing up in Detroit, that curiosity had kept me alive in dangerous neighborhoods. In nursing school, it made me notice details other people missed, the subtle signs that separated life from death. Tonight, it made me notice the faint bitter scent rising from Tae-hyung's wine glass. Almonds. Sweet and wrong and definitely not coming from a $20,000 bottle of French wine. Cyanide. I'd learned about it in toxicology class, read case studies about political assassinations and corporate sabotage. The smell was unmistakable once you knew what to look for. Tae-hyung was raising the glass to his lips. "Sir," I said, my voice cutting through the Korean conversation like a blade. "That wine has turned. You don't want to drink it." Every head in the room snapped toward me. In the sudden silence, I could hear my own heartbeat, feel the weight of attention that could get me fired or worse. Tae-hyung's eyes met mine, dark, calculating, suddenly very interested. Turned? Spoiled. Bad. You can smell it if you know what to look for. I moved closer, my nursing training overriding basic self-preservation. Trust me on this one. For a heartbeat that lasted forever, he studied my face. Then, incredibly, he set the glass down without drinking. Junho's reaction was instant and telling, a flash of anger quickly suppressed, hands moving in ways that suggested concealed weapons. The wine is fine. She's just concerned about customer satisfaction. Tae-hyung finished smoothly, his voice carrying absolute authority. Which is why Moonlight Garden has such an excellent reputation. Junho forced a smile, but I saw murder in his eyes. Not for Tae-hyung, for me. The meeting ended 10 minutes later with handshakes that looked cordial but felt like declarations of war. As the other men filed out, Junho paused beside my station. "Careful, waitress," he said quietly in English. "Sometimes good intentions get people hurt." After they left, I was clearing the private dining room when Tae-hyung returned. Alone. "You saved my life tonight," he said without preamble. "I saved you from bad wine. Customer service. Do you think I'm stupid?" His voice carried no anger, just genuine curiosity. "You recognized poison. Cyanide, based on your comment about the smell. That requires medical knowledge." I kept clearing glasses, not trusting myself to look at him. I watch a lot of medical dramas. Zara Johnson. Age 27. Graduated from Wayne State University with a BSN in nursing. Came to Korea on a work visa that expired 6 months ago. He moved closer, and I caught the scent of expensive cologne mixed with something harder, gun oil, maybe, or the metallic tang of violence. The question is why someone with your qualifications is serving tables instead of saving lives. Ice flooded my veins. If he knew about my visa status, he could destroy me with a single phone call to immigration. Medical board investigation, I heard myself saying. Malpractice accusation. Lost my license while fighting the charges. What kind of malpractice? I finally looked at him, seeing something almost like compassion in his expression. I couldn't save someone who mattered to people with power. They blamed me for their incompetence. And you came here to disappear. I came here because America stopped being a place where I could practice medicine. Korea was supposed to be temporary until I figured out my next move. He nodded slowly, as if filing away information for future use. Junho will try again. Tonight was just the opening move. Why are you telling me this? Because you're now involved whether you want to be or not. He saw you save my life. In his mind, that makes you an enemy. Before I could respond, the restaurant's lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, casting everything in hellish red as the sound of shattering glass came from the kitchen. Professional, coordinated, multiple entry points. Down, Tae-hyung commanded, his hand appearing with a gun that definitely hadn't been visible during dinner. Behind the bar. Now. I dropped, muscle memory from Detroit's bad neighborhoods taking over. Through the bar's mirror, I could see armed figures moving through the restaurant with military precision. 8 hostiles, Tae-hyung said into his phone, speaking rapid Korean while scanning for threats. Full tactical gear. Inside the restaurant. Gunfire erupted from multiple directions. Professional, controlled bursts that spoke of training and experience. Stay down, he told me, but I was already moving. Because one of the attackers had made it to our section, and he was bleeding from a wound that looked arterial. My nursing training overrode every survival instinct I possessed. I crawled toward the wounded man, pressing my scarf against the bleeding to stem the flow. What are you doing? Tae-hyung's voice held genuine disbelief. Stopping him from bleeding out. I worked with practiced efficiency, applying pressure to the wound while checking for other injuries. You want information from him? Dead men don't talk. He came here to kill me. To kill us. I took an oath. I secured my makeshift bandage, noting the way the man's breathing had stabilized. Even for people who try to shoot up my workplace. The firefight lasted another 5 minutes, professional, efficient violence that left 3 attackers dead and 2 wounded. When Tae-hyung's people secured the building, they found me treating both injured men with supplies from the restaurant's first aid kit. You saved them, he said, watching as I finished bandaging the second attacker. I saved them. You can interrogate them and find out who sent them. I stood, noting the way my hands shook with adrenaline. Win-win. You're not what I expected from a waitress. You're not what I expected from a customer who tips in cash and never eats what he orders. For the first time since I'd known him, Yoon Tae-hyung smiled. Really smiled, not the polite mask he wore during business meetings. The expression transformed his face from dangerous to devastating. Are you always this pragmatic when people try to kill you? Detroit trained me for a lot of things. Including keeping my head when the shooting starts. I gestured to the wounded attackers. Speaking of which, they'll need proper medical attention soon or my field medicine won't be enough. I have doctors. Discreet ones. His eyes studied me with new interest. What I don't have is someone with your particular combination of medical knowledge, survival instincts, and... He paused, searching for the right word. Stupidity? Courage. The kind that makes someone treat enemies because it's the right thing to do. He moved closer, close enough that I had to look up to meet his eyes. I'd like to offer you a different position. I'm not sleeping with my boss. He laughed, a sound that held genuine amusement. Not that kind of position. Though the thought has merit. His expression grew serious. I need someone I can trust. Someone with medical training who can handle violence, think under pressure, and see details other people miss. You want me to be your personal nurse? I want you to be my partner. The word hung between us like a challenge. In his world, partnership meant trust, shared risk, shared power. It also meant shared targets. Your world killed my predecessor tonight. Multiple times. Junho's world tried to kill me tonight. Successfully killed 3 of my people. The question is whether you want to help me make sure it doesn't happen again. I looked around the restaurant, my workplace for the past year, the place where I'd hidden from everything that went wrong in America. Broken glass, blood on expensive carpet, the reality of violence that had been lurking beneath the surface of every shift I'd worked. What exactly are you offering? Medical oversight for my people. Real medicine, not the back alley treatment they usually get. A chance to use your skills for something that matters. His voice dropped lower, more intimate. Protection from people like Junho who see you as a threat. And in exchange? You learn about my world. Help me navigate threats you might see that I'd miss. Stand beside me when the next attack comes. He paused. Because there will be a next attack. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a text that made my blood freeze. Pretty nurse. Pity about the visa situation. Be a shame if immigration learned about your illegal status. Stay away from Yoon Tae-hyung or learn how unfriendly Seoul can be to undocumented Americans. A friend. I showed Tae-hyung the message, watching his expression darken. Junho moves fast, he said grimly. Your visa status makes you vulnerable to pressure. Which is exactly why I should disappear instead of getting deeper into whatever this is. Disappearing won't protect you. Junho sees you as a threat now. Running just makes you easier to eliminate quietly. I stared at the message, processing the reality that my options had just evaporated. Stay and face death. Run and face death anyway. What's the third option? Fight back. Let me show you how my world works. Learn to navigate the dangers instead of just surviving them. He moved closer, his voice carrying promises and threats in equal measure. Let me protect what's mine. I'm not yours. You saved my life tonight. In my culture, that creates obligations. Bonds. His eyes met mine with intensity that made my breath catch. You're already mine, Zara. The question is whether you'll accept it. The smart answer was no. The safe answer was to walk away and hope immigration problems were easier to solve than bullet problems. Instead, I heard myself saying, if we do this, we do it as equals. I'm not your subordinate or your possession. I'm your partner. Partners share everything. Risks, rewards, secrets. He stepped closer, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from him. Everything, Zara. When he kissed me, it tasted like promise and danger in equal measure. Like crossing a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Like falling for someone who could save me or destroy me, possibly both. When we broke apart, I realized the monster of Seoul had just become the most important person in my world. So what happens now? I asked. Now we hunt the people trying to kill us. Together. His smile was sharp, predatory, completely at odds with the gentle way he touched my face. Welcome to my world, partner. But as we stood there planning our future, neither of us noticed the encrypted message being sent to handlers in 3 different countries. Phase 1 complete. Target has acquired emotional attachment to the American. She's now the perfect weapon to destroy the Yoon organization from within. Prepare for Phase 2. The game for Seoul's underworld was just beginning, and I was about to discover that sometimes the most dangerous thing isn't the monster you can see, it's the one that's been watching you fall in love.